Let's see, today's topic is direct and indirect speech. Now, what do you mean when we say a speech? A speech is nothing but a conversation between two people. And when two people talk, it is known as a direct speech because the conversation is in the present. That means the conversation is happening right now. But when we change it into the indirect form or the reported form, it shows us that we have involved another person to whom we are reporting about this particular speech. So over there, we have to change a lot of things. So let's see today how we can convert a direct speech into an indirect speech. For this, first you have to understand the difference between the direct speech and the indirect speech. So let's look at the examples given over here. Nitin said, I am happy now. So over here, Nitin is talking about himself in the present tense about his state of mind. This is called a direct speech. Nitin said that he was happy then. Now look at the difference in both the statements. In the first, Nitin is saying, I am happy now. In the second, he said that he was happy then. So that means it has been reported to someone else about how Nitin feels about himself. This is called the indirect speech. Now let's learn the method of converting or changing the direct speech into indirect speech. The verb which is before the inverted comma, that is over here, this is your verb, said, is known and called as the reporting verb. The words which are inside the inverted commas, that means this entire sentence, I am happy now, which are inside the inverted commas, are known as the direct speech. This sentence is a direct speech sentence and the verb inside is called the reported verb. So, students, you have to understand the verb outside the inverted comma is known as the reporting verb and the verb inside the inverted commas is known as the reported verb. So, to convert the sentence from a direct speech into an indirect speech, what we require is 5 different rules. Very simple. If you follow them, it is very easy to understand how we can convert a direct speech into an indirect speech. So let's look at the first rule. The first rule is punctuations. That means in the direct speech, the sentence will have certain punctuation marks. So let's see which are those punctuation marks in this example. Nitin said, I am happy now. The inverted commas are your punctuation marks. So when you convert it from a direct speech into an indirect speech, students, we have to remove them. It becomes a simple statement without any punctuation marks except for the full stop. The second rule, that is change of tenses. When we speak or when we say a sentence in a direct speech, we follow a particular tense. But when the same speech or the statement is converted into an indirect or reported speech, the entire tense of that statement changes. So let's see how we change the tense from a direct to indirect. Let's look at the example again over here. Nitin said, I am happy. Am, present tense. But when the same sentence is converted into a reported speech or an indirect speech, the present tense gets converted into was, which is a past tense. So, the second rule is the change of tense. Am is converted into was. Now, let's see the third change. That is the change of the pronoun. Let's look at the sentence again. the pronoun will always change according to the gender of the subject. So in this sentence, Nitin is a boy. So I am happy. I is a pronoun over here which will be changed to he when we change this sentence into an indirect speech. So please remember, students, the change of your pronoun will always depend on the gender of the subject. Now look at the fourth point given over here. The comma is changed into a connective. That means the comma is removed and the word that is introduced. So going back to the example, let's see how this is done. In the direct speech, after the reporting verb said, we have a comma. This comma is removed and it is replaced by the word that, or rather by a connective word that, when we change it from a direct speech into an indirect speech. And the last rule, that is the fifth one, is the change of words. Now which words over here? The word that we change over here is the time. And the word that denotes the time in your direct speech is now, which will get changed in the indirect speech to then. So students, remember the 5 rules to change a direct speech into an indirect speech. First, the punctuations. Second, change of tenses. Third, change of pronoun. The fourth one, comma turns into a connective. And the last, change of words which denote time. So students, as you all had seen, the 5 rules that are required to convert a direct speech into an indirect speech, or rather transform them from a direct speech into an indirect speech. Now we will see how to change the tense. So let's look at the first example that is given over here. We have Neha said, I eat sweets. This is your direct speech. When we have to convert this or transform it into an indirect speech, the tense will change from the present to past. So let's see how that is done. Eat is a simple present tense. And when we convert this into an indirect speech, it gets converted to ate. So the entire sentence becomes Neha said that she ate sweets. So a simple present changes to a simple past. Let's look at the second example given over here. Neha said, I am eating sweets. Now, am eating is a present continuous tense. When we convert this sentence into a past tense, this will be changed into Neha said that she was eating. So, the rule for the second example is present continuous changes to past continuous. Now, let's look at the third example that is given. Neha said, I have eaten sweets. Now, have eaten becomes the present perfect tense. So, when we change the present perfect tense, it will become a past perfect tense where have will be changed into had. So, Neha said that she had eaten sweets. And the last one, that is the fourth, Neha said, I have been eating sweets. So let's see how this will get converted when we change this sentence into an indirect speech. This sentence is a present perfect continuous tense. So when we change this, it will get converted into the past perfect continuous. So that means have been eating will be changed into had been eating. That means Neha said that she had been eating. So students, now this is how you will be changing your tense when you convert a direct speech into an indirect one. So students, we had seen how the tenses change from direct speech to indirect speech. So now let's see how modal auxiliaries change their form from a direct speech into an indirect speech. Now, what are modal auxiliaries in the first place? They are known as the helping verb. They will always help and support the sentence to show you the capability, the obligation, the request, the permission, the order, the past ability and the present ability. So, let's see how these modal auxiliaries change their form when the sentence is changed from a direct speech into an indirect speech. So, let's look at the first one. Jaspreet said, I can drive. Now, over here, can is an ability. That means it tells us that she can still drive whatever vehicle that she is used to. But when we change this into an indirect sentence, it becomes could. That means it has gone into the past. So the sentence says, Jaspreet said that she could drive. So we don't know for sure whether she still can drive or not. So here the changes are I can drive, can changes to she could drive. Please remember, we still have to follow the 5 rules. Do not forget the 5 rules when we change from direct speech to indirect speech. Now let's see the second sentence. Jaspreet said, I will help her. Now what is the meaning of will? Will is a surety. It's not a probability, it is a surety that Jaspreet is so sure that she is going to help her. But when will change into would, it will become a probability. Jaspreet said that she would help her. Now we are not sure whether that will happen or not. Let's go to the next one. Over here, Jaspreet said, the paper shall be easy. Again, the word shall, which is a modal auxiliary, tells us chances. It may be easy, it may not be easy. We are not very sure. But when shall changes to should, over here, when Jaspreet says that the paper should be easy, this is an order. Let's look at the next sentence. Jaspreet said, I may come to the party. Again over here, it's a probability. The same probability remains when she said, I might come, but may turns to might, which goes into the past tense. So students, let's go over this again. Can changes to could, will changes to would, shall changes to should, and the last may changes to might. So students, today we are going to see the changes in the reporting verb and their connectives. So what we have to look at is the direct speech sentences and the indirect speech sentences. Let's see the first sentence, that is known as an assertive sentence. An assertive sentence is a simple statement. So when we use the reporting verb, it is say, said and told. When we have to use a connective in an indirect speech, the connective will be that. Let's look at the second sentence that is given here, and that is an exclamatory sentence. Now what is an exclamatory sentence, students? An exclamatory sentence is a sentence where we convey strong emotions or feelings. This sentence always will end with an exclamatory mark. So when we have to convert an exclamatory sentence into an indirect speech, you have to pay attention to the main thing, that is to remove the exclamatory mark. So let's see what words or rather reporting verbs are used in an exclamatory sentence. The word used is exclaim or exclaimed, the past tense, using an ed. The connective used over here in the indirect speech will be that. Let's look at the third sentence, which is known as an imperative sentence. An imperative sentence means order, command, suggestion, request, or obligation. So over here, what we use are the ordered word or requested. So the connectives will be to plus verb, that is the infinitive, or suggested, or not to, that is the negative infinitive. Not to plus the verb. Let's look at the last one, and that is the interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence means a question. So over here, we will be using the reporting verb as asked. So let's see what are the changes that will take place when this sentence is converted into an indirect speech. The WH questions. You will never change the WH type of questions. Whatever is the WH question in your indirect speech or the direct speech will remain the same. So use the same WH type. You will never change this WH type. The second one. The second type of question in an interrogative sentence can be a verbal question. That is yes, no, or which demands an answer. So over here, you will have the connective if or whether. So let's look at the few examples that are given over here so that you will understand this table much more better. Let's look at the first one. Rama said to Lakshman, "Bring me the weapons." Look at the sentence. He said to Lakshman to bring him the weapons. Rama ordered Lakshman to bring him the weapons. Over here, this is an imperative sentence. The next one, Susan said, "How clever I am." This is an exclamatory sentence. So this will be changed into Susan exclaimed that she was very clever. Let's see the third one. He said to us, "Please wait till I return." This is a request. This is a kind of an imperative sentence. He requested us to wait till he returned. So students, let's see today if the direct speech expresses these three things. One is a habit. Now let's see what is a habit. Habit is a regular continuous action that we do on a daily basis. So look at the example that is given to you here. It says, Anushka said, "Children like to play." Playing is a habit that children form and they like it. So it is done on a regular basis. So look at the indirect speech given over here. Anushka said that children like to play. If you remember the 5 rules, here we do not use one of the rules, and that is the tense rule. Always remember students, when it comes to an habit, the indirect sentence will not change its tense. Why? Because it is habitual, which will be taking place for a longer period of time. So when we convert a habit from a direct speech to an indirect speech, we remove the punctuations, we remove and add a connective, we remove all the other things, but we do not change the tense of the sentence. So we pick the sentence the same way. So over here, Anushka said that children like to play. Children like to play will remain the same. Let's look at the second example now. A proverb. A proverb is a universal code. We do not change it under any circumstances. So again, Anushka said, "Honesty is the best policy." What will change over here in an indirect speech? Just the punctuations and nothing else. Anushka said that honesty is the best policy. And the last one is known as the universal truth. Anushka said the sun is round in shape. Again, over here, students, we will not be touching the tense of the sentence. Anushka said that the sun is round in shape. So please remember the most important thing about these three facts: habit, proverb, and universal truth. That when we convert it from a direct speech into an indirect speech, the tense will not change.